Welcome to this week's episode of Starting Over 2020, your best decade ever. So, firstly, I want to shout out a lot of people around the world are being affected by the coronavirus. So, my sympathy goes out to them. Lots of people, not just the sick people, but it's having a compound effect on employment, shows, economies, just bad right now. So again, let's say a prayer for the coronavirus, that we get it under control soon and not too much more heartache that goes along with it. So that's what I want to talk about there. It's really tough when you're out there in the real world. We all have friends, acquaintances, and sometimes they're not necessarily the people we need to be around. It's one of those hard things that I think we're always learning, and they always say surround yourself by happy people or like-minded people, but we get surrounded by people that complain a lot, or people that aren't putting effort into whatever they're doing, and we find it really hard to break the chains and surround ourselves with people that are going to benefit us. So that's one of the things I'm going to talk about, that I want you to think about this week. I think it's really important that we do that. And again, it's not easy. You know, some of our friends we've had for many years, and it's really hard to pull yourself away from them and get somebody that has the right attitude to take care of you. And that's the same in any relationship. You know, I've been really fortunate that my wife, we've been married coming up to 32 years. She's just the most positive person I know, and when I'm down, she's there to always make sure that I get back on my feet. With me being sick for the last 3 years, it's been really challenging on her. I mean, having to be a caretaker, go to work, take care of the children, it's taxing, but she does an amazing job at it. And that's what you need to surround yourself with, people like that. Another thing that I found really important of late, in my younger days, I didn't really feel that it needed to be labeled, but it was something that I did. I just never labeled it. And that's changing your habits. For me, again, being off work for 3 years, not knowing each day what kind of a day I'm going to have. So even today, this morning, I was in so much pain and nauseous. I wasn't sure I'd be able to sit in front of the camera, but I rallied and was able to. So changing habits can be a challenge, but we a lot of times need to do and take those steps. And recently I've read a few books that may help you out, and the first one is Atomic Habits by James Clear. Good Habits, Bad Habits by Wendy Wood. Miracle Morning by Elrod. Great books. Makes it a little easier to think about what habits you want to change. Most of them talk about getting up earlier so you can get more done, and that's the one habit I've been really working hard on. I do find it very beneficial getting up early, even though I have no appointments to go to. Just getting up early sometimes will make me feel better. I can sit down, do a little bit more reading, maybe, catch up on Facebook or whatever it might be. So getting up early has been, as I say, one of the habits I've opted to change. There's many habits that you can change, and that's one that all of the authors seem to recommend. And that you don't have to make it drastic. The way I did mine was baby steps. It was like quarter of an hour extra, half an hour. So I did it in baby steps, and that helped me tremendously. Again, there are mornings that I just don't want to get out of bed. My body just is saying, heck no. But other than that, I really do make the effort. One of the biggest issues I think we all have, and that is we need to change our mindset. I'm totally guilty of that. I'm sitting at home, and I say I've been home for 3 years. My wife keeps saying you need to get a job that you can work from home. And it's only recently that, again, with the stock market going down, it's like, yeah, we may need to get another source of income. So I'm having to change my mindset. I've always worked for big corporations. Now I'm thinking of doing something by myself. Again, there's a little bit of fear and trepidation that goes along with it, but also a lot of excitement. So over the weeks, I'm going to share that with you, and share my journey. I'm going to tell you I did sign up for one of Tony Robbins' online courses, so I'm going to do that. I used to listen to him years ago, back on cassette tapes. And it's just, again, one of those mindsets I've got to change and get back into trying to be like I used to be. So one of the things that struck me is I watch a lot of TV, more than I probably should, but one of my favorite films is The Knight's Tale, and one of the lines that really resonated with me was, change your stars, change your life. And that's so true. We all have to look at what we want to change to make the better us. And that's what we always need to do, is try and achieve something each day that improves us from the day before. And that's my goal. And again, I'd say during this time that I'm trying to set something up, I'm going through my mind of what I'm good at, what I can share with other people. So that will be coming out here shortly. So look for that, and it will be fun. If nothing else, it's going to teach me to give up on the fear that I've always had about being self-employed and being my own boss. And it's funny, I talked to both my boys, and both of them said, Dad, we just want to work for ourselves. And so this is interesting to see how if they come along on the journey with me. So there'll be more on that coming up. Then probably the biggest, and the title of it shows, look up, help is close by. What I mean by that is, let's not be afraid of asking for help. And that can be in many cases. It can be work help, it could be health help, it could be just general day-to-day asking for help. And I have a couple of examples that I want to share with you. And fortunately, in both these examples, the outcome was good, but it could have been totally different. And that was me. I'm really bad of asking for help, no matter what it is, whether it be at work, whether it be at home, whether it be, in sports or whatever things. And 3 years ago, I went in, I couldn't swallow after one of my operations, so they had to put in a feeding tube, which I still have today. But when they put it in, released me to go home, I got home and I was in so much pain. I mean, really bad pain. Now, I'm a kidney stone sufferer, and I've had 86, 87 of them, and this pain was even more intense than that. And I didn't ask for help. So I then stumbled around the house, took myself to the bedroom, rolled up in a little ball on the bedroom. Then my wife came home and saw me, and the first thing she did was dial 911. I got to the hospital. They had to perform emergency surgery right away. Because the feeding tube hadn't attached itself in the stomach, all my stomach contents was going into all my other organs, and they had to wash those out. So it was pretty bad. And again, if my wife hadn't got home and taken me, I might not have been here today. And that was kind of a similar situation with number 2. Again, I was in a lot of pain. I actually did go into the emergency room in the morning, got sent home. The pain just kept getting worse and worse. And so I went back in, and within an hour I was having surgery done. And again, it's one of those cases I could have easily asked to be taken to the hospital. I didn't know what the pain was, so I felt I don't need to deal with this. I just go and try and relax, and hopefully it will subside, which, a lot of time my pain does. My oldest son said, "No, Dad, you're coming with me right now to the emergency room." And I put up a fuss. It's like I didn't really want to go, but he wasn't going to have it, so he took me. And again, literally, from the moment we walked through the door to being on the surgery table was about an hour. So both of those outcomes could have been very different. They might have been a lot easier on me if I had have asked for help earlier, instead of waiting for it until the issues were so bad that emergency surgery was the only way to deal with them. We can ask for help in many other facets of our life. It doesn't have to be medical. One of the biggest ones is, a lot of times I see this with students that I've taught in the past. They'll be sitting there in the class taking notes. So as a teacher or an educator, you're looking and you think, oh, everybody knows what I'm talking about. Because nobody wants to be the first person to put their hand up and ask for help and get different clarification of what I was trying to express, or a problem that they felt they knew the answer and they felt good about it. And it's part of that embarrassment that people just don't want to be the first one to ask a question. It's something I don't know where that came in, because I know at a young age, what do? We're always asking questions. From the day we start talking, that's what we do. We ask questions. So I think it's about middle school that changes a little bit. Now all of a sudden we're more conscious about the people around us, so we tend not to ask questions. My recommendation is definitely don't feel embarrassed about it. Don't feel embarrassed about asking for help. And that could be in many issues. I mean, being sick for 3 years has had a huge hit on my mental health. And so I decided that I probably needed to seek help. So I did. I went and found somebody that I could talk with, and had a plan of action of how to try and change my mood. And as I've mentioned on the earlier transcript, my goal every day is to go to bed with a smile and wake up with a smile. And she really was able to help me with some of those issues I was dealing with. But definitely don't feel embarrassed about it. We all ask for help at some time or another, but it can be one of those things that can be life-saving. So take it to the next level. Share this. Tell your friends and family about how they also need to ask for help, and the world will change. And with that, have a great rest of your day, and I look forward to talking to you next week. Bye for now.